Let me preface this by saying that I am not personally in favor of YouTube banning Steven Crowder nor even demonetizing his channel. I do believe that some action should be taken just to dissuade him from making personal attacks like this in the future. I don't know what that is, but I do agree that an outright ban is way out of bounds. But that's due to my belief that we have an implicit social contract whereby we should allow all voices to be heard, within reason of course. But if you don't believe in social contracts, I imagine that sort of reasoning won't resonate with you. That said, if I were a true proponent of the free market, I would favor YouTube banning people like Crowder. You see, Crowder's channel may be huge, but it's just one channel. At this point, YouTube has more to lose by allowing people like Crowder to act as bigoted ringleaders and poisoning the well for other demographics on YouTube. Sure, banning Crowder will anger many of his subscribers, especially those that are active subscribers and not just lapsed or paid bot accounts. But only a fraction of those people will do anything about it. You see, there is much more to YouTube than politics, let alone Steven Crowder's act where he pretends to hold positions he doesn't actually hold and yet is too scared to debate someone like Sam Seder.
You are watching or hearing this, and everybody else knows it too. There's no way you're not aware that I've issued this challenge now. You knew it was coming when you backed out of Politicon because you were afraid of debating me. And here it is. Steven, we'll see you soon.
It's like asking a WWE wrestler with no MMA training to meet with John Jones in the octagon. One is an actor doing rehearsed moves, the other is actually trained and not just pretending. Only a small sliver of angry bigots will actually leave YouTube because they don't allow a channel to engage in targeted harassment. The rest are not going to give up all of the other great things YouTube has to offer. Even most standard Republicans won't even care. Many of them are turned off by people like Crowder, even if they agree with the policies he pretends to hold because those are the policies handed to him by the billionaire-funded Blaze Media. Think I'm making that up? Recall what happened to Tomi Lahren when she took a pro-choice position. She got let go by Blaze Media. Also, Blair White just confirmed what I suggested yesterday. That Crowder was one of the right-wing YouTubers she was referring to when she said that most of them are just actors pretending to hold positions they don't really hold. So don't be fooled. The only thing quote-unquote edgy about Crowder is his use of pejoratives that were considered acceptable 30 years ago. The actual policies he pretends to hold are no different than those of windbags like Rush Limbaugh. If you're stuck in an echo chamber where you are constantly having your own confirmation bias fed back to you by others who see the world pretty much exactly as you do, it's easy to project those views onto the majority of the world, when in fact it only applies to a niche of people. The other alleged downside is that the right will kick and scream and claim that YouTube is biased. But they will do that anyway. Right-wing channels already routinely point to anecdotes of having their videos demonetized and/or relegated to safe mode with the assumption that this is only happening to them and/or others on the right, when in fact it happens to left-wing channels all the time as well. So the kicking and screaming will continue regardless of what YouTube does or doesn't do. You know who won't leave YouTube? Advertisers. This is all about them. Advertising dollars are what pay the bills for Google. The more Crowders that get removed or at least demonetized, the more advertisers will be more assured that their ads aren't showing up on videos they want no association with. Now, maybe you think it's the fault of the people who start these ad boycott campaigns towards channels and other voices they don't like. Well, remember, they are using the free market to solve a problem. They are voting with their feet, or with their keyboards, or whatever. So, if you're a free market proponent, you have to support YouTube banning or at least completely demonetizing Crowder. Don't feel bad for Crowder, his channel is not small and certainly not independent.
I was in China in the fall of 2006, living for a month in a southern city because my in-laws are there and my wife took our two daughters there and put them in the schools. And I was working on the manuscript of this book. And I got to the section where I had to address the problem of regulation. And I realized that there were things you could see with your own eyes that were very illuminating. China is, and particularly the southern coastal regions of China, a very prosperous place. Real wages are visibly rising. People are well fed. They are stylishly clothed. They are comfortably housed. You can live there in perfect security and ease. My daughter could walk to school and back, a kilometer each way, twice a day. Nobody bothered her. But you knew, nevertheless, that you were not quite in a first world country. And when you thought about it, here are some of the reasons. You knew that if you got hit by a car, EMS was not going to be there in 90 seconds. Right? Seriously, it's an important point. You knew that if you went to the grocery store, you did not bring the salad home and wash it in the tap and put it on your table. Right? You brought vegetables home, you washed them in boiled water, and you cooked them before you ate them. Why did you do that? Why does my mother-in-law to this day unplug her electrical appliances at night before she goes to bed? The answer is, in all of these cases, you did not have a regulatory system that you trusted. You didn't trust the city water to be free of bacteria because you knew by and large it was unlikely that it was. You didn't trust the food system to be free of E. coli and other contaminants because you had pretty good reason to believe that it wasn't. And there was no credible authority protecting those lines of economic activity. Similarly, with electrical appliances, you weren't entirely confident that what you had that they were fully and properly tested. It tells you that regulation is actually essential to a modern, technically sophisticated economic society. Credible regulation is not something that you impose on the market. It is something that makes markets of all kinds that matter to us possible. You know very well that you would not get on an aircraft, no matter how much you admire the technical capacity of the Boeing Corporation and the quality of its planes, which are excellent, if you did not believe that the Federal Aviation Administration had an appropriate and effective means of air traffic control. There's two Boeings running into each other, and the effects on both of them are pretty bad usually. Right? It's the regulation that makes the system work, and nowhere is this more true than in